record size is as limited as possible. Okay, so by looking at, maybe some of you have, done this in your unit 1 or 2, you have learned this maybe, but it's very, 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 very important for the advanced things that we are going to learn. Okay, so I want all of us to be on the same page, and I want all of you to understand it 100%. Okay, so full attention, pura dhyan do abhi. what what do you understand, or what can you conclude by looking at this particular image? Hmm, hmm. You have a car, and there is a place where you store your car, right? You have 2, 3, 4 kgs of fruits. You have a place where you store that fruit. You have cash, and you'll be having lots of cash once you're an engineer. You'll be storing it somewhere, right? So why is refrigerator the best place to store fruits and not a garage? Simple question. Why is refrigerator the best place to store 1 or 2 kgs of fruits and not the garage? One is very good, very nice answers. One is the conditions inside of the refrigerator is conducive, is very good for the fruits. They will remain fresh there, one thing. Second, for 1 or 2 kgs of fruits, we don't need to spend so much of space, right? Right? So one is to preserve space, only to allocate the amount of space that is required, first thing. Second, the environment is conducive. Okay. Similarly, hmm, similarly, just like different things are stored in different ways, JavaScript stores primitives and non-primitives in a very, very, very different way. Hmm? So the way JavaScript stores objects, arrays, and functions, friends, it's very, very, very important. It's the most important concept for today's class. So pay a lot of attention. The way, even if you have learned it in unit 1 and 2, pay attention. The way JavaScript stores primitives, that is string, number, boolean, etc., is very different from the way JavaScript stores non-primitives like object, arrays, and functions. Very, very important. Okay. Is my screen visible to all of you? Akhilesh, it's visible, dear. You need to change, your settings or something. Okay. Make sure, Akhilesh, you are able to see my screen. It's a very important section. Okay, so we will look at this first of all visually. I have created a small animation for all of you. Then we will see it in Python tutor. And finally, we will see it in code. Okay, very, very important. Let's see. So suppose you write a line of code, something like this, let str1 equals to ABC. So again, if we speak like an engineer, if we communicate like an engineer, we are declaring a string. We are declaring a string called str1, and we are assigning a value. What is the type of value in str1? It's string, right? Now, what JavaScript does is it creates, I don't want to, use very technical terms. So there is a thing called stack. So don't worry about these terms. There is a stack memory, which is a fast, quick one, and there is a heap memory. Stack memories are small ones. Heap is a large one, a very big one. Okay. So it creates an identifier called str1 and stores value of ABC in the stack itself. Just be with me. Everything will be clear to you. Okay. Next thing, we have another string. Okay. So we are declaring another variable called str2, and we are assigning it a value str1. Do you see what's happening? Yeah, it is all present in the notes that I have shared. So you can revise it very quickly. Okay. Now, how will JavaScript store it? It will create an identifier called str2 and copy this value to str2. Are you getting what I'm saying? So this str1 is a different thing altogether. This str2 is a different thing altogether, right? And we are dealing with strings or primitives. Okay, let's move ahead, friends. We are again creating a string 3 and we are assigning value string 2 to it, and it will be stored in the same way. We have an identifier called string 3, and this value is copied from str1 to str2 and then again copied to str3. These are three independent variables: string 1, string 2, string 3. Very simple, very clear so far. Now let's create a non-primitive, say for example an array. Now friends, in an array, we can mutate it anytime, right? Even if it's declared by const, we can mutate it. We can add any number of values to it in the future, right? So do you think it needs a bigger space? Just like our car needed a slightly bigger, a larger space. Do you think, just as a general, as a layman, do you think an array might need a little bigger space than string, right? So let's see how JavaScript stores it, okay? Pay very close attention, friends. It is a complicated topic, but I've tried to make it as simple as possible. So here you see, whenever we are dealing with JavaScript is dealing with a non-primitive like arrays, objects, functions, it creates an identifier in the stack memory, but actually stores it in the larger heap memory. Okay. So for primitives, this value was copied again and again in the stack memory. Don't worry about these words. Okay. It will never be asked to you in an interview. It's just for your understanding. But in case of a non-primitive, in case of an array, identifier is here in the stack, but value is in the heap. Now let's see what happens when we do this. We are creating an array2. We are declaring a variable called array2 and passing it value, assigning it array1. Can you imagine what is going to happen? How is JavaScript going to store it? It will create an identifier called array2, but that array2 is going to point to the exact same array in the memory. Okay, so if I just stop here for a moment, these three str1, so here these three are primitives, right? So these three are independent, right? In these three, the values were copied. They are independent variables with independent values. But are array1 and array2 independent? No, they are both pointing to the exact same array in the memory. If I try to mutate array2, will it affect array1? Yes, it will affect array1. And there are so many senior engineers who don't understand this simple concept, right? So now if I create another array, array3, if I declare another array, array3, and assign it value array2, can you guess what's going to happen? Can you guess? Can you think what's going to happen? An identifier will be created called array3, and it's going to point to the exact same array, friends. So whenever we assign one array to another, They are not copied, but they are referenced. These three arrays, array 1, array 2, array 3, are pointing to the exact same array in the memory. Okay. If we change array 3, if we add something to array 3, all of these array we are changing. It's very important to learn this. If you are mutating array 3, you are mutating essentially array 1, array 2, and array 3 all. Okay. Chalo. Let's go back to Python tutor. So Python tutor has a way to visualize JavaScript. Okay. So we are looking at JavaScript section of it. I have just written this bit of code for you. So, again, this is a string, right? So again, you can see we have a string and the value is here. For number, again, num, this identifier, and value is here. Similarly for Boolean, similarly for done, similar for undefined, right? But when it comes to non-primitives, they are by reference. So in the heap memory, the actual object is stored and identifier remains here in the stack memory. Same for function, same for arrays. Okay, so this is visually clear to all of you. Now let's look at a couple of examples. Okay. Till when it happens? Till any number of time. Okay, as long as you are assigning one array to another, or one object to another, or one function to another, it will keeping the same reference. Let's see example with some real interview questions. Okay. So again, you have all of these notes, right? So that you can refer to them. Now let's look at a couple of examples. Okay. Again, whatever examples I take, they are, almost all of them are asked in one of the previous interviews by nice product companies. So I'll just go to sources and snippets. So let array, or let's do with object this time. Let object 1 is going to be an object, and its name is going to be, for example, I'll keep it simple, Vivek. Okay. I'll also open the in case anyone has any questions, feel free to ask related questions, genuine questions. Okay. So here, if I run the program and if I check object 1, I can see that it's name Vivek. Let me create another object. Let object 2 is equal to object 1. Okay. Now, friends, if I try to check or log object 2, what's going to be in it? Same thing, name Vivek, right? Again, can I assign it to a different, say, variable? Let object 3 is equal to object 2. I can do this, right? And if I check object 3, I see I have an object named Vivek. Everything looks super nice and simple. But now if I do something with object 3 dot name is equal to, say, for example, John. Okay. And I'll also add a few properties to it. So for example, object 3 dot, for example, age is equal to maybe 39. Okay. Now if I run it, and now if I check object 3, we have name John, age 39. But if I check object 1, what will I get, friends? Yeah, Rina, the reason it's running is because it's console, na? And it's an expression, right? So I am inside the console itself, right? So for example, if I have any value, I can run it here. Same thing will happen with array. Same thing will happen with functions. How and why this value is changing, sir? Who will explain? Hmm? Let me give, someone from the participants to explain it. It will give you a nice. Sparsh, would you like to explain why is the value of object 1 changing when we are just mutating object 3?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Sure.
please.
So because all the objects are pointing towards the single reference.
Very good. Is it
Um,
clear to people who were asking this? Huh? Very good. This is the reason, right? Because as we saw it, they are all, because they are non-primitives, they are all pointing. It is actually stored in just one place and they are all pointing to the same object. Hmm?
yes.
Vaibhav is asking, initially, there is no age in object 1. So why are we able to see it? Who would like to answer it? Hmm? Ramesh? Let me let me allow someone to talk. Uh, Deepak, would you like to explain? Someone is asking that there was no age property in object 1. तो ये
Yes,
age property कहाँ से आ गया object 1 में?
because of due to updating, sir, it reached there.
Hmm. If objects not find that key, then will it create new key? Yes, of course, that is unit 1 problem now.
Yes, sir.
चलो ठीक है. Okay, thank you,
Thank,
Deepak. You may
thank you.
mute yourself. Chalo, let me explain you again because I think some of you did not get it 100% and I want all of you to get it 100%. So let me open the Python tutor again. Okay, let me edit the code and let me write this bit of thing again. Okay, everyone, especially people to whom it's not clear. Okay, please explain, please, listen to it very carefully. 101%, you will encounter it in the very first day you are using React. Okay, because objects are passed as values a lot. And one of the function is changing the object, it's changing everywhere. So you should be very clear with this concept. And also, this is asked a lot in interviews. So what are we doing here? Let object 1. Let me ask someone who were not able to understand it. Why are arrays not updating just like string? Arrays are not updating just like string because they are stored somewhere else. They are not stored in the heap. So who asked me? To whom is it not clear? I want to know in the chat right now. Not clear to me. Type not clear to me. So Mohammed Maroof. Okay, Mohammed Maroof. Mohammed Maroof. I'll allow them to talk. Mohammed, please see if you are able to talk.
Hello.
Mohammed, what is happening here in line number 1? Be a
Hello.
bit quick. Yeah, Mohammed, what is happening in line number 1? Speak like an engineer and be quick. Mohammed,
Hello.
are you able to hear me, Mohammed?
Hello.
Are you even able to hear me, Mohammed?
Yes,
I,
sir.
I am able to hear you. Tell me what is happening in line number 1.
It is initial. I mean, the object one has been created, and it has been assigned the variable in it.
We are declaring a variable
Declaring
called
one. Yes,
object
sir.
one
That's
and
yes, sir.
assigning it an object. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
how will it be stored in the, how will JavaScript store it? The identifier will remain in the stack and the actual object is going to be in the heap memory, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, we have already seen this. Now, what is line number 2 trying to do?
So it is. I mean, it is a copying from object one only. I mean,
It
it
is
is
not
one.
copying.
Okay.
Non-primitives are never copied. Okay, so use words like an engineer. Come on, Mohammed, you are in advanced JavaScript course. Okay, so repeat after me. We are declaring a variable called object2
We are declaring an object to variable object,
and we are assigning it the value of object1.
and we are assigning the value of object one.
How do JavaScript assign a value of a non-primitive? It creates an identifier object2. Okay, and that object2 points to the exact same object. A new object is not created, Mohammed.
Okay.
So these object1 and object2 are internally pointing to the exact same object. Is it making any sense to you so far?
Yes, sir.
Okay, now let's move ahead. What is happening? What are we trying to do in object 3, in the line 3? I want you to speak
So,
like an engineer.
again, we are creating a variable object three,
Hmm.
and we are taking the value of object two. And
We are assigning the value of
assigning
object 2 to it. And how does JavaScript do that with non-primitives like object?
it is pointing towards object one only.
So not object 1. We are creating an identifier called object 3, but it's pointing to the exact same object in the heap memory. Okay. Now we are trying to mutate object 3 का name. मतलब object 3 का name we are trying to change here.
Okay,
So do you think we are also changing object 1 का name?
the way I mean, the logic you have said, so according to that, yeah, we are also changing from object one also.
Right? Since we
Yes,
are
sir.
changing the object that
Yes,
object 3 is pointing, we are automatically changing object 1 as well, right?
yes, yes, sir.
So here in this line, we have changed name to John, right? Here we are trying to add another property called age to this object, right? So we added age 39 to it, to object 3. Do you think the object to which object 1 is pointing has also changed?
Yes, sir.
If we console log object 1, it will show name and age.
Yes, sir.
Is it 100% clear to you and all of you, please?
So, I mean, is there any specific logic behind it, or what? I mean,
It is
that's
the
what I was
way see, JavaScript is written by an engineer, right?
asking.
And that engineer decided that since these non-primitives can grow very, 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 very large, there can have an object can have like 500 properties, who knows? An array can have like 1 lakh items. So it's not feasible to store it in a stack, right? And also when we are copying them, it's not feasible and it's not economical to copy them all the time. So why not store them in one place and refer to that again and again? So that was the logic behind the person who actually created this JavaScript. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, crystal clear to all of you, friends?
Yes.
Anyone, any questions before I move ahead? Akhilesh is asking something. Array equals to 1A, array 2 equals to 1A. Will both array have... See, let me edit the code. Again, I would like all of you to answer it. Suppose we have an array. One, two, three. Again, these things, you can very easily try them yourself, okay? We have an array 2. So these two are different arrays. Are we assigning array 1 to array 2 anywhere here? No. We are not creating a connection between them anywhere, right? So these two are very independent variables. So here we have an array 1 and here we have an array 2. Got it, Akhilesh? Sachin wants me to show function. Sachin, I'll let you do that. Any questions like object name? Can we say like alike objects? Please write properly, huh? Please frame your questions properly. If object 1 and object 2 are not equal, then what will happen? If unless we are assigning them, if we want to keep them different, then we have to assign them separately, na? Just like the way we did it here. Can you please explain it with function? When stack is full, what happens is called stack overflow. Heap is usually very large, so it's not an issue. Okay, so let's do it with function, okay? So here we have a function. These things, you can do them yourself. Let function1 is a function. It takes, or maybe let's keep it outside so that we can do things to it. Let func is equal to a function and here it can have console.log maybe. Hello. And now if I give it func, let function2 is equal to function1, you can visualize it yourself, right? So here is the function body in the heap. Here is the identifier func for this thing. This fun1 is pointing to the exact same function. Fun2 is pointing to the exact same function. Okay. All right. If we write array2 equals to array3, yeah, they are pointing to the same place. Got it, everyone? What to do if we want slight changes in non-primitive data structures? No, you have to make a copy of it. We'll see how to do that. All clear? Let's move ahead, huh? We cannot spend more time in this. So you have notes, huh? You have notes. Please refer to them for more practice. But this is a very important topic. Second, are you all very, very clear with truthy and falsy values? So let me ask you a couple of questions. Is this the third number item a truthy value or a falsy value? Wrong, most of you. See, be very clear with the concepts. Be very clear with the concepts, friends. इस तरीके से जो है ना, चलो, let me revise it very quickly and let's see then if then you are able to answer all of the questions. Let me make it a bit larger. Pay very close attention even if you have studied it in unit 1 and 2. There are only 6 falsy values in JavaScript. There are only 6 falsy values in JavaScript: undefined, null, nan, zero, empty string, and false. Let me copy it. Let me copy it. And let me bring it here. Friends, again, this is very important. Even though you have learned it in unit 1, pay very, very, very close attention. It's asked a lot in interviews and it's used a lot in real world. So there are only 6 falsy values in JavaScript. Everything else that is not falsy is truthy. Okay. And the easiest way to check if something is truthy or falsy is the if this is the easiest way to check truthy and falsy value if with an if block. Okay. So is true a truthy value? Then it will show it is truthy. Okay. I'll also console clear it. Console dot clear. Now, friends, undefined is a falsy value. So if I write undefined here, what will be logged? Truthy or falsy? It is falsy. If I type null here, it will give me falsy. If I have nan here, it will give me falsy. If I have an empty string here, what will it give me? Falsy. But if I have an empty string with a space here, is it undefined? Is it null? Is it nan? Is it zero? Is it empty string? Is it false? No, that means it's truthy. So let's keep it very, very simple. If a value is not equal to undefined, null, nan, zero, empty string, or false, just remember these 6 values. Anything apart from that is truthy, right? It's holding a character, right? If I write null here, is it truthy or falsy? Again, very common interview question. Why falsy, Pankaj? Why falsy? Is this null equal to this null? Come on. Is null equal to string null? Is this empty string equal to this string null? So obviously it's truthy, right? Anything that is not falsy is truthy. Is it clear to all of you, friends? Any questions here? Crystal clear? Now, if I go back to the questions and ask you, is it truthy or falsy? Is it truthy or falsy? It's truthy because it's none of these. Is this empty object truthy or falsy? Is this empty object truthy or falsy? It's truthy because it's none of these. इंटरव्यू में अगर ये पूछेंगे ना यार सही से आंसर कर देना. Okay, tell me last thing. Is this truthy or falsy? जो भी महाशय falsy बोल रहे हैं, why? For all of you who are telling falsy, why? Is this string 0 equal to 0? Is string 0 equal to 0? No. Is string 0 equal to empty string? No. So why will it be falsy? It's truthy, right? So friends, another very important concept. Again, it was a part of unit 1 and 2, but it's so important that I just wanted to revise it really quickly. So make sure that you understand the concept of truthy and falsy well. You have everything in the notes. The first concept that we covered was that non-primitives, when we assign them to another variable, they are copied by reference, and primitives are copied by value. There are only 6 falsy value. Apart from them, everything else is truthy. Okay. Type conversions, I'll let you do yourself. Boolean conversion, I'll let you do yourself. Are you all comfortable with ternary operators? It's like a simple if-else expression, right? If this expression evaluates to a truthy value, this, if this expression evaluates to a truthy value, this expression would execute, else this expression would execute. Okay? If it's not comfortable to a few of you, you have to practice it. That is the only way to get comfortable with it. You want me to repeat it? Oh my God, let me do it really quickly. Let me do it really quickly. So what are we doing here in line number 1? We are declaring a variable called status. What is the value we are assigning to it? Whatever gets returned from this entire expression. What will this expression evaluate to? If this evaluates to a truthy value, then this. If this evaluates to a falsy value, then this, right? So what will be the answer? Hmm? Hmm? What would be the status? Pass, right? Can someone give me a nice example, last example of this? Any expression here. Is 5 equal to 5? True, right? Because it returns a truthy value, true. So this first expression would be run, okay? So it's simple, right? Before question mark, we have an expression which is evaluated first. Okay, सबसे पहले JavaScript will evaluate that. If it's a truthy value, then the expression between question mark and colon will be executed. Else the expression after the colon will be executed. Logical operator is again something that you have done in unit 1 and 2, but still yesterday, almost 80% of you answered me wrong, right? Which means I have to quickly revise it. Let's be very quick, friends. But let's be very clear, huh? Let's be 100% clear with it. Let's be 100% clear with it. So friends, what would be the answer here? And we can see that answer is null, but why? Okay, but why should be very, very clear to you. Let me take another example. I'll give you a very simple formula by which you will be able to solve any problem of this category. Okay, but try to solve a couple of them first. What would be the answer here? Vivek. What would be the answer here? I'll give you a simple formula and you will never make a mistake. No, Vivek would be the answer. Vivek is the answer here. Last. What would be the answer here? Let's keep it fast. I'm intentionally not giving you too much time. Now let's see how the logical OR operator works. Okay. So friends, when we use, again, this is a definition that I have written so that, you will never make a mistake and you will just look at the code and you will understand what is happening. So this is logical OR. JavaScript looks for the first truthy value and returns it as soon as it finds it. If it does not find any truthy value, it returns the last falsy value it finds. So think of OR as a very positive person. And there are a few people who are very positive and they try to look positive and truthy in everything, right? Agar half glass of water unko denge, so they will see it as half full, right? So this logical OR is a very, very positive person. It's looking for the first truthy value it can find. As soon as it finds a truthy value, it returns it. If it's not able to find a truthy value at all, it becomes very sad and returns the last falsy value. With this, few people are telling like me. Yeah, same here. Now let's see with this definition that I have written for all of you, are we able to answer them correctly? And think like JavaScript. This is how JavaScript thinks, okay? So think like a JavaScript. So here in this expression, this is OR, and it's a very positive person, right? It will see A is false. False is a falsy value, but it wants a truthy value. Then it will look the next one, next operand. Again, it's a falsy value. Again, it will look at the next operand. Again, it's a falsy value. It will be super sad and it will return the last falsy value it finds. Got it, everyone? Clear? Crystal clear? Now let's look at this example, the next example. OR, logical OR is a very positive person, right? It wants first truthy value. It sees A, checks A, it's falsy. It moves to the next one, Vivek. Is it a truthy value? Is Vivek a truthy value or a falsy value? Truthy value. What does OR operator do as soon as it finds a first truthy value? It becomes very happy and returns the first truthy value that it finds. The other will not even be evaluated. If this were an expression, if this was an expression like console log or something, it will not even reach here. It becomes so happy as soon as it finds the first truthy value, it does not even look forward. Got it, everyone? This analogy will go with us till our grave. Akshay Chauhan, thank you very much for your beautiful compliment. Chalo, next, let's look at another one. What will happen here? JavaScript will evaluate for default user. Default user is Vivek. Is Vivek a truthy value? Will it return it? It will return it. Let's check this last example with the same thing, JavaScript checks the logical OR operators check this default user, its falsy value. It moves to the next one. User is a truthy value. What will it do? It will return the first truthy value that it finds, which is Akash. So logical OR is 100% clear to all of you, and this logic and explanation will go with you until your grave, which is a great compliment for me. Now let's look at the logical AND operator. Let's look at the logical AND operator. Again, in the notes, I have written everything that I'm teaching to you. So I've put in as much effort as someone puts in writing a book. So yeah, make best use of it. Okay. So when we use logical AND, JavaScript either returns the first falsy value it finds, okay, or returns the last truthy value if it's not able to find a falsy value. In other words, this AND operator is that negative, नेगेटिव वाला इंसान जिसको नेगेटिव ही ढूंढना है, जिसको falsy ही ढूंढना है. As soon as it gets a falsy value, it happily returns it, does not even move ahead. As soon as AND finds a falsy value, it immediately returns it. It does not even look ahead. But if it is not able to find any falsy value, it becomes very sad and returns the last truthy value. Now let's see if we are able to answer these questions using this logic. Opposite of AND. Huh? Rishi would be answer. Everyone is correct. I'm very happy to see the answers. What would be the answer here? 0. Excellent, friends. Excellent. What would be answer here? Let me copy it. Huh? It's slightly involved. Again, friends, the reason I'm revising it is because it is used a lot in React. Okay, you should be very comfortable with it if you want to become a very good JavaScript engineer. So friends, here we can see that we have AND operators, and AND is obviously looking for the first falsy value. So what will this expression evaluate to? Is bank balance more than 0? True. So it's a truthy value. It will move ahead. Is account active? Yes, it's a truthy value. It will again move ahead. And finally, it will console log active. Right? If account active was false, let me keep it true first. This kind of code you will see a lot in React. So we can see that active is logged, right? We can see that active is logged. But if it is false, what will happen, friends? Will active be logged? Active log होगा? नहीं होगा. क्यों? Because the AND operator finds a falsy value, it returns it, and never even moves forward. It's very happy to find the first falsy value. It's like the cruel world which is interested in our fault deeds. Rahul, I liked it. Chalo, I hope these two concepts are very, very clear to all of you. So, and last thing I want to tell all of you is if you see both and or together, and is always given a higher precedence. So for example, you know the rule of BODMAS, right? So brackets are opened first, then division is done, then multiplication, right? Then addition, then subtraction. So always and gets the first precedence, and is evaluated first and then or, okay? With this bit of information, you will be able to solve any problem. Another thing is this nullish coalescing operator. Correct, Sachin. So what is this nullish coalescing operator? It's a new thing for all of you. Let's see how can I explain it to you very, very nicely. Chalo, let me try to explain it to you in easiest way possible. Say, for example, you have written an application You have created an app. So let username is, if we don't give it any value, it's undefined, right? Is undefined. Let is active or is blocked. Again, its value is undefined. Let me give it a name. So there is a user called, I'm trying to give you a real world use case of it, okay? So that you know the why before we understand hows, okay? So let the username is John. So what your application does is, by default, is blocked is undefined. It has no value. But in case John is blocked, then your application will run this line of code, is blocked is equal to true. Okay. Okay. So here, by default, is block is undefined. And here, is blocked is true. So friends, if we look at our falsy values, I'm trying to think of a nice use case. Oh, we have learned a lot today. So I'll just copy this so that we have a reference of it. Now, friends, again, same thing with account balance, right? Let account balance. So say, for example, just an hypothetical example, okay? So account balance can either be undefined, it can be 0, it can be, maybe any of these two. Again, sorry, my example is not great. It's hard to think of a great example immediately, but we want to treat undefined and 0 separately. Here we want to treat undefined or true separately. So false should not be treated as undefined. 0 should not be treated as undefined. Okay. Sorry for making it very confusing. Okay, just give me a second. Let me try to think of a better example very quickly. So if I write something like this, is blocked if it is falsy, if it is true, or is active is the better thing. Is active is true. एक मिनट, हाँ friends, अभी एक बार थोड़ा देर के लिए take a few deep breaths. Let me think of a very good example. ऐसे बिना एग्जाम्पल के समझाएंगे तो मजा नहीं आएगा. इज एक्टिव अगर ट्रू है, अगर इज एक्टिव ट्रू है तो डिस्प्ले यूजर नेम और डिस्प्ले यूजर is active. Let's see what happens if I run it. I see user is active and here user active is undefined. चलो हाँ, आप लोग एक काम करो, 7 मिनट्स का ब्रेक ले लो, वैसे भी 1 आवर हो गया। मैं एक अच्छा सा एग्जाम्पल सोचता हूँ इतनी देर में। ओके, चलो, लेट्स टेक अ ब्रेक। It's 12:31. We will catch up at 12:38. ठीक है, चलो, let's take a break. I'll just mute myself and I'll try to think of a nice example. All right, everyone, time's up. आ जाओ भाई सब. All of you back to the class. All of you back. Hello. ठीक है. चलो. So one thing I told you is that logical operators are used a lot, okay? These days in the modern programming, logical operators are used a lot. So for example, if we have a variable called isUserActive, okay? isUserActive, okay? And if we use any logical operator, they are too much dependent on truthy or falsy values. For example, if user active, suppose I use the logical or operator, for example, okay, and let me write here something like let is active equals to is user active or you are welcome. And then I console.log is active. The concept is very simple. I just wanted a real world example. ठीक है? देखो. So if we are using a logical or operator, what will happen? Logical operator looks for the first truthy value. So if it is 0, if it is false, if it is undefined, it will be treated same, right? So in this case, if is user active is undefined or is user false will be treated in exactly the same way because they are both falsy values. Are you getting what I'm saying? And so now if I save and run the code, I'll see that you are welcome. So, but there are situations, friends, there are situations where we don't want 0 or any other value, like for example false, or maybe empty string, or maybe for example nan. I don't want them to be considered as maybe falsy. We just want to consider undefined and null as falsy. Okay. With the logical or operator, any falsy value, any of these values will be considered falsy. But we want a special operator that only considers undefined and null. मतलब अगर left side में if we have undefined and null, only then this particular value will be showed, else this will be showed. So for example, if is user active is 0 or whatever, like let a, let me not give it any name, let var a, if a is 0, okay, if a is 0, I want to log 0 here. Let message, I'll again repeat the entire thing, okay, so don't worry. If a is 0, I want to show 0 here in the message, okay. But if a is only undefined or null, only one of these two, then I want to show that you are banned or something like that. Okay. But here in this case, if we run it, let me refresh it. we see that even though A is 0, it is showing you are banned. The user should be shown banned only if A is undefined or null. If it has any other value, we don't want to show it as banned. Okay, so for those particular situations, we have the nullish coalescing operator. So if we do this, we'll see that we are getting 0. But if it is null, we are seeing you are banned. If it is undefined, we'll see you are banned. But if it is anything else other than null or undefined, anything other than null or undefined, for example, 0 or 0.0, whatever, then it will be treated as, this the first operator would be returned. Okay. Not same as ternary operator. Not same as ternary operator. Ternary operator evaluates for the truthy value. Wait, let me give you reference of ternary operator quickly. So for example, 0, then 1, else 2. What will happen? 2 will be shown, right? Why? Because 0 is a falsy value. So that's why the next value will be returned by this expression. So all of the expressions, most of the expressions and if conditions in JavaScript looks for truthy or falsy values, and it treats all of these values as falsy. This is the only one operator which does not depend on the definition of falsy. It is just looking for undefined or null. Just okay. For other falsy values, we have already seen, right? For 0, if it's 0, then it's returning 0 itself. It's not going ahead. So let's see the definition now. I mean, it's used very little, very little in real life, but it's very good to know it. Okay. So it treats null and undefined similarly. So if we have an expression like A nullish operator B, if A is not null or undefined, then A will be returned. If here we have a value other than null or undefined, then this value will be returned, else the second value will be returned. As simple as that. It does not require third argument at all. Okay, so if the value A is not null or undefined, then value A will be returned. If it's null or undefined, then value B will be returned. As simple as that. Okay. So yeah, again, you may go through the note, and I hope this example was a little real. Who knows? Okay. Loops. Are we all clear with loops, friends? Are we all clear with loops? So we have a for loop, while loop, do while loop. Okay. Then two very important. You don't know do while loop? Do while loop is very similar to while loop. So in while, what happens? The expression is evaluated first, and only if this results in a truthy value, the expressions are run. So in a while loop, there can be a condition where this inside body of the loop is never executed at all. It can happen in a while loop. But in do while loop, this line will be executed at least once. Then the condition will be checked and then it will move here. So in do while loop, what happens? The while goes down. So conditional expression goes down, and this bit of expression is executed at least once. So this is the only difference. Two very important loops, for in loop and for off loop. Are we all clear with for in and for off loop, friends? Okay, let me quickly go through for in and for off loop because they are used a lot because of their performance things. Okay, it's not very clear, so I'll maybe repeat it again. So for in is used to iterate over properties of an object or indexes of an array. Properties of an object or indexes of an array. So if we have an example like this, so we have a student object with properties first name, rank, and age. And we use this for in loop, then we have each key here. Let me type it out. Okay, that way it will be more clear to you. So let's write for in loop, for let key in student. And if we console.log key, we'll see each property 1, 2, 3. So it runs. So if we are running a for in loop for an object, it will run for n number of times, and the count of n is the number of properties here. If I want to get the values in each iteration, how can I get that? How can I get that? No, there is no value here. We only get key. Good. So what we can do is we already have student, right? We have this student object and we get each key in the iteration. In this way, we can get Vivek 1, 6, 36. So this is for in loop. For in loop basically gives us only the key or the left-hand side of an object. But of course, if we have the left-hand side of the object once, we can get the right-hand side of the object without any problem like this. Okay? It gives us key by default, but we can use that key to find the value. Now let's see how for in loop works with arrays. So if I have an array, so for let anything, I can give any value, suppose I in subjects, then we can console log I. What will we be getting? We are using for in loop. The left hand side, right? So we'll get 0, 1, 2. In case we want to access, we want to print out JavaScript. So this is again a very common interview question. This bit of code will be written to you, given to you, and you have to modify this line to show the values. How would you do that? Subjects and the index of the subjects. And you will get JavaScript, HTML, CSS. So this is for in loop. In gives you the keys. In deals with the keys. The most important loop, which is used a lot these days, especially in data structures and algorithms, is for off loop. It iterates over arrays it's not concerned about the index. ये केवल values आपको दे देते हैं. Okay, so it is used really a lot these days. So if I do for I of subjects, so इनको मैंने off कर दिया, and if I console log I, if I console log I get all the items here. Okay, so this for of loop is very fast and it's very useful. Okay, so for of loop, it starts with for keyword. We declare a variable and then of arrays, and then we can iterate over all the right hand side of the arrays. Very useful. Many of you asked me to give a quick refresher on the arrow functions. So I'll quickly do that. Yeah, you can use this in DSA as well. For off loop में indexes नहीं मिलते. It's not for that. In case you need indexes, then you use for in. In case you need only values, then you use for off. So arrow functions, let me give you a very quick refresher on arrow functions. So first, let me write a regular function, and let me write a function expression. So let greet, okay, for example, what is the benefit of using for off loop using index? So yeah, in case, and there are many occurrences when you don't really need index, right? In case you need index, then you need to use some other thing, right? But if you don't really need indexes at all and you just need the values, so it's a lot faster. Okay, so that's very useful there. Also, it works on any iterable. Again, that's a very advanced concept. I don't want to go there right now, but it works on every iterable using DOM elements. Chalo. So let greet be a function, a regular function. It takes in a name and returns, say for example, hello from whatever the name is. Okay. And now if I try to execute greet with a name called Vivek, I'll see hello from Vivek. This function is simple enough, a regular function. Right. Now let's see what we can do with arrow functions. Okay. How we can write the same thing in different ways using arrow function. So I'll just copy it and I'll comment it here for all of you. So first of all, if we are trying to convert it into an arrow function, I can get rid of the keyword function totally. Okay. And then I can put an arrow here. Let's see what happens. Exact same result. Okay. So we just got rid of this function keyword and put an arrow here. Is this much clear to all of you? Especially those who wanted me to revise. Okay. Now, second thing, in arrow function, if we just have one argument, we don't even need these parentheses. So we can get rid of these parentheses. And if I execute the code, I'll get the exact same result. Third thing that we can do is, in case we are just returning one expression, okay? In case we are returning just one expression, we don't even need these curly brackets. we don't even need this return keyword, and we can simply implicitly return it from here. And now if I execute it, I get the exact same result. So this feature of arrow function is called an implicit return. So when you are taking just one argument, and this happens a lot, right? This happens a lot. And you are just returning something. You don't need curly brackets, you don't need return thing. And you can return, an expression directly. Very powerful, right? So friends, let me command Z for some of you. So friends, if you look at this greet method, which we have written using arrow function, it's working nicely. We are taking an argument called name, and we are returning a string. So when we just have one argument, we are taking just when the function has just one parameter, it's taking just one argument. Then we can get rid of the parenthesis. And when we just have a single return, and no other, calculations going on here, we just have one single expression as a return, we can get rid of these curly brackets. We also don't need this return keyword, and we can directly return it from here. And we can see that it's still working exactly like this one. So this function here is equivalent to this function here. Just one line of code, and believe me, this is used a lot. The drawbacks of arrow function are: one, it does not handle the this keyword dynamically. We have an entire class on that. Okay. The arrow function does not handle the this keyword dynamically. Don't worry about that for now. We have an entire class dedicated to that. Also, at times for new people, it becomes slightly difficult to, wrap their head around, but the only way to get comfortable with it is a lot of practice. If you are clear with this, I want to, add one more concept related to arrow function. See, arrow function. So one of you are asking me, Pramod is asking me that, what if, I do not assign it to a variable greet? So then how will you invoke it? The only way to invoke it then will be to immediately invoke it. Like this. Okay, that's the only way. If you are not assigning it to anything, and you see, and you have to pass in the value here, and you will get the exact same result. We'll get to IFI. This is called immediately invoked function expression. We'll get to it. Don't worry about it. If this much is clear to all of you, I want to add one more complexity or edge case to it. If else condition के लिए you have to use curly brackets. ठीक है, clear? Okay, tell me friends, what if I want to return, again, pay very close attention. So this is an arrow function. It does not take in anything. Okay, कोई argument ये नहीं लेते, and it returns an object with property name value Vivek. So friends, will this work basically? So if I invoke greet, I can see that I'm getting an object with name Vivek, right? So it's working. Now, again, this return, we are not doing any calculations or any, statements are not written here. We are just returning an expression, an object. An object is an expression because I can directly write it here in the right side of the equals to. So I can directly write it here. That means it's an expression. It can be the right hand side of an equal to. So can I return it directly by removing this curly brackets and by getting rid of the return keyword? Don't you think JavaScript will get confused by this curly bracket and this curly bracket? JavaScript will get confused, right? So if I get rid of the return keyword here, if I get rid of this curly bracket here, this curly bracket here, and I try to return it from the same line, actually what will happen is, and this is an edge case, okay? It happens just with object when we want to return an object. So even though we want to return an object directly, but JavaScript confuses these curly brackets with the curly brackets of the function body. Okay, so now if I run code, it will not understand what is happening here. So the way to return an object from single line is to surround it with parentheses. And now it will work exactly as we needed. Okay, so this is an edge case. Whenever you want to return an object directly, implicitly from an arrow function, you need to surround it with the parentheses. That's all you need to know about arrow functions. And you have all of these in the notes, right? Even this edge case is written for you here. Clear? For all of you who wanted me to revise the arrow functions again, is it clear to all of you? Crystal clear? We'll look into IFI, don't worry about that. Nice. Yeah. Have you learned about object shorthand in unit 1 and 2? So for example, if the key and value are same, then you don't need to write both. No? No? Okay, let me quickly show you. Because from tomorrow's class, I don't want you to be confused with all of these things, okay? So again, we have an arrow function called user data. It takes in 2 arguments, name and email. It returns an object. So the name gets the name. So this name is the property, and this name it takes from whatever it receives it. Email gets the email. Okay. Now let's try to invoke it and see what happens. Console log user data will invoke the function with name Vivek and then vivek@mail.com. And now if I run the code, I get an object with property name set to Vivek, property email set to vivek@mail.com. Until here, is it clear to all of you? Basically, this is an arrow function. It takes in name and email, and it returns an object. We just learned, no? We can return an object in the same line. So now the object has a property called name, has a property called email, and we are assigning them these values, name and email from here. And when we invoke user data with Vivek and Vivek at mail.com, we get back this object here. Clear? Now what does this object shorthand means? If the key and value, looks exactly the same, even though these are different, this name is a string name, this name is this variable name. So if these are the same, you can get rid of this. You don't need this, and it will work perfectly fine. Got it? Comma is obviously mandatory ना. Properties को separate तो comma से ही करेंगे. What if we have more than one object? You have to store it in an array and return it, or store it in another object. Okay. So for example, nothing is stopping us from doing this. So we can have another object here, and it can be an object. Nothing is stopping you from doing that. So an object can contain multiple objects. An array can contain multiple objects. Okay. Statements versus expressions we have already seen. Statements versus expressions we have already seen. Lexical scope we have discussed already in the pre-class video. Okay. So people who have not seen the pre-class video, please make sure to see it before this Sunday. Okay. It's very important. Very, 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 very important. All right. Let's see kitna baki hai aaj. Just a little bit remaining. Don't worry. Have you read REST and the spread operator in the last class? सर बहुत ज्यादा हो गया आज. 10 minutes और खींच लो. I know बहुत हो गया आज. बहुत सारे concepts हो गए new. Even though it's around 2 hours, but we have done a lot of concepts. Okay. So I'll let you all revise by yourself the REST and the spread operator, because most of you have done that. You know the spread operator. So revision अच्छा रहेगा. चलो let me do the revision. ठीक है? So REST operator helps us collect all the arguments in an array. So for example, if I have a function do something, it takes in, again, you know, this may be one of your evaluation questions, so be a bit attentive. The first argument is going to be name of the user, or maybe, you know, print user details, maybe. Print user details. It's going to be the name of the user. The second argument is going to be the age. Try to understand the problem statement. Huh? And third argument onwards, third, fourth, fifth, but the third onwards, all of them are users' hobbies or favorite subjects. Are you getting what I'm saying? There can be any number of arguments that user can send. So for example, while invoking this function, I can pass in name. So my first argument will always be name. The second argument will always be age. And third onwards, it will be hobbies, like singing, learning, reading, and it can be any number of items, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Okay, it can be any number of items. So for name, I can access it using maybe a parameter called name. Age, I can take it with age. But how can I take rest of the arguments? Very good. I can take rest of the arguments here, and I can store it in any variable, say for example, hobbies. Now if I console log, and we can log name, age, and hobbies. Okay. So we see Vivek, we see 39, and we see an array of all the rest of the items. So it's dynamic. If I add more number of items to it, for example, whatever, riding, biking, whatever, tracking, it's dynamic. The array is dynamic. It can keep on increasing. Don't you think it's useful? Very useful, right? So if you ever encounter this kind of a problem statement, that you have first argument that should be name, second should be age, and rest of them should be some XYZ things, you are expected to use the rest operator. If after hobbies you have one more thing, there is no way. That should be before rest. Rest means rest all of them. Okay, 3 dots. Uske baad any variable name which you can access it here. Clear? Rest operator clear to all of you? Okay. Now the spread operator. Now the spread operator. So now we have an array 1 with lots of values, for example, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, lots of values we have it here. We have another array. And in this, we want to spread out our array 1. Let's say how JavaScript executes it. So you have array 1, and it's pointing to an array in the heap. And then we have array 2, it's pointing to its own array in the heap. So what spread operator does is it copies, it does not copy reference. It does not copy reference to the array, it copies each item. It explodes. It copies each items of the array into a new array. Got it? It's not reference, it's a real copy. It's exploding it here. So you have already learned about arrays. Last concept, friend, just be with me. I know we have learned a lot. Just give me a few more minutes. I'm super proud of you. It's not easy to learn these many concepts in one class. And I have not given you any student task today, if you have observed, right? Just to save time, I'm just speaking, right? So just be with me for a few more minutes. Destructuring. Okay. How many of you are clear with no, I'll create an assignment for all of you today. Are you all clear with destructuring thing? You don't know destructuring thing? Chalo, let's learn it, friends. It's important. It's important. So let's say we have an array. Let array is equal to, and this contains a couple of things. The first item is maybe name. Of course, this is not the best way to do that. The second is maybe the age. Okay. The third item in the array is maybe a function. Can we do this in an array? Any primitives or non-primitives can be used in an array, right? Any primitives or non-primitives can be used in an array. Now we got this array in our function, for example, in our code, and we want to store them. I want to store Vivek in a variable called name. I want to store 39 in a variable called age, and this in a variable called greet. How will I do that? How will I do that? Let maybe name is equal to array ka first item. Let age is equal to array ka second item. Let greet is equal to array ka third item. This is a valid way of doing it. You've done it a lot. So now if I check, is the name working? I see Vivek in the name. Is the age working? I see 39 in the age. Is the greet working? I see the function. Can I invoke greet? Yes, I can invoke greet. Okay. So this is a perfectly valid way of storing different items of an array, elements of an array in different variables. Until here, is it clear to all of you? But you will rarely see any experienced JavaScript engineer doing this. Even though this is perfectly valid way of doing it, but all the experienced JavaScript engineers would destructure the array rather than extracting each and every value like this. So what they would do is, I'll write it first, and then I'll explain you the logic. So let the name, age, and greet be destructured from array. Now, if I check name, do I have name? Do I have age? Do I have greet? Awesome, isn't it? So how it works, how JavaScript knows that we are trying to destructure this. So after let, const, or var, whenever JavaScript sees a box bracket, it understands that we are trying to extract values of array. And we want to store the first item of the array in a variable called name. We want to store the second item of the variable array in age. We want to store the third item of the array in greet. So whenever JavaScript sees let, const, or var, and after that immediately a box bracket, it understands that we want to destructure an array. Amazing, no? We are doing this in DSA, right? So this will, this looks strange, but if you practice it 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 times, it will become a second nature to you. In React, you will never be doing this. In React, you will always be destructuring. Super cool, right? Very short and concise. Can you do the same thing with an object? Friends, can you do the same thing with an object? Let object is an object. The name is maybe Vivek. Age is maybe 39. Greet is going to be a function which console.logs. Hi. Now again, when we want to save these in different variables, it's a perfectly valid way of doing it, right? In the old school way. Nothing is stopping us from doing this. So we can have object.name, object.age, and object.greet. Nothing is stopping us from doing this, right? Nothing is stopping us from doing this. If I save this, execute this, clear the console, I have my name, my age, my greet function. Again, we have a much better way of doing this. You will rarely see senior JavaScript engineers doing this. What they would do is let const or var, it can be anything literally. And if there is an curly bracket immediately after let const or var, JavaScript understands that we are trying to destructure an object. We want to store its name. We want to destructure its name. We want to destructure its age, and we want to destructure its greet. The way it is a bit different from array is that order does not matter here. Okay, I can write greet here without any problem. In objects, the order does not matter. And now if I run the program, save it, maybe reload it. And then if I want to check name, I see Vivek. If I want to see greet, I see function. If I want to see age, I see age. Very, very similar to destructuring an array. So again, you have to remember is that after let const or var, if JavaScript sees a box bracket, it understands that we are trying to destructure an array. If after let const or var, JavaScript directly encounters a curly bracket, it understands that we are trying to destructure an object. Yes, you can use the rest operator here in arrays and also in the objects. Okay, so there are a couple of examples here, friends. Please try to make sense of it. Please try to make sense of it, and it should be Om Prakash. It's not, your question is not clear to me. It should be, I don't get. It has no order. How it? देखो ना. In an array. So for example, so the question is कि without order ये कैसे काम करता है? So in an array, if I just log it, run it, clear the console and run array. So you will see that it's very much dependent on order, like 1. The first item is Vivek. Second item is 39. Third item is this function, right? But if I check object friends, object.age is 39. Object.greet is function. Object.name is Vivek. It is not very strictly dependent on the order, right? Do you see what I'm saying? So curly brackets for destructuring objects, box brackets for destructuring arrays. There are lots of examples I have written here. It will be nice if you can, maybe explore them a little bit. There are lots and lots of examples here, see, for you to practice, okay? So instead of I doing them, if I do them, you will understand that immediately. But if you try to solve them yourselves, it will make a little bit more sense. And I'm always there to help you out, okay? So just try to solve these problems by yourself, okay? Okay. Up for next 10 minutes, I'll take the issue of NPM that some of you are facing. So I'll unmute Ramanand Tiwari. Although you should be addressing these in the IE standards, right? These shouldn't ideally be addressed in the IE standards or with the help of pedagogy instructors, but I'll be very happy to help. So Ramanand, you may share your screen maybe.
Okay, sir. Wait. Yes, sir.
Are you not able to share your screen? More?
Sir, I'm not able to share the screen.
Okay.
It's
hold on. Soumya, how can I help him share the screen? You helped me last time do that.
sir, make me.
Sir, you can make him panelist, then he can share.
I actually made him panelist, right?
Sir, actually, host disable the participant screen sharing. You can make me co-host or host.
Okay, let me see.
You can give him permission to share.
Okay.
In screen share, there is an option.
In screen sharing, kahan pe hai yaar?
Sir, in my participant part, there is 3 dot is there, and when we click on the participant part,
Can you
Allow
check
to
now
record.
if
Sir,
you can
3
share, Ramanan?
Yes, sir. Wait. Yes, sir. I am able now.
Yeah. So
Okay.
so share your screen.
Yes, sir. It's my screen. So actually, I am not installing the Node.js. I'm not initialize the environment of Node.js with the VS Code. Can you help me make the environment of Node.js on the Visual Studio? Hello.
So do one thing. First of all, check in the terminal if you have Node installed. Just type Node and press enter.
The
In the
terminal.
In the
Okay,
terminal.
sir. Wait. Only type Node.
You have not even checked that you have Node installed or not, and you are sharing your screen, right?
So actually,
you have not done your part of efforts, and you are taking everyone's time.
Yes, sir.
These were told to you yesterday, right?
Yes, sir. I installed the Node.js like that. In if I try to check the Node.js, then it's showing a Node.js is not present in your environment.
Okay. Type Node again, please. Node, then -v, space -v.
Yes, sir.
Enter. So you have Node installed here, right?
Yes.
Second thing to check was that check the present working directory. So you should be at the place where you have package.json file.
How we can check?
I don't know the command in Windows. Type ls maybe. So no, you are not in the right place. Maybe go to the Finder. Left side में सबसे ऊपर वाला. In the left side, the top one. नहीं ये हाँ यहाँ पे click it in the file menu. Wait, let me annotate. इसको पूरा रहने दो. Let me annotate. हाँ, no, just click on the file menu. जिसमें 1 लिखा हुआ है ना, just below that.
Yes,
हाँ, yeah, just click here and go to the problem. Yeah, just Masai problem. Below that, day one. Yeah, this one. Yeah, right click it.
Yes, sir.
Just right click it. Right click.
Okay, sir.
And open in integrated terminal, the fourth option.
Okay, sir.
Yeah. Now do PWD once. PWD.
Click.
Enter.
Okay, sir.
So you are in the correct place, right? Now press ls once just to make sure that you are in the root directory. I'm not sure how it works here. Well, now run npm i. npm
Yes, sir.
space I. So here it is not the root directory.
Okay.
So who can help here? Okay.
So I think he need to go inside the SRC.
Okay. Please help him so that others can, get the help as well.
Yeah,
Can I
Maybe
clear?
go into.
Can I clear that?
Okay,
Type
just
ls
click on
first.
Masai.
Wait, only one. No. Hello.
Okay,
Yeah.
type ls.
LS.
Yeah. And copy that Masai OPS folder.
Masai. Like that.
Yeah, copy.
Wait.
And go to by making cd.
CD.
Type cd.
CD.
And paste that directory.
CD after that it's space or not?
Control V. Paste Control V. Yeah. Press enter. I think you have selected multiple lines.
What you are saying?
You need to copy correct folder. Okay.
I copy this thing now.
Yeah, just copy, not you have copied also spaces. Okay, now copy.
I
Type
copy
cd.
that. CD. After that is space or not?
Space. Yes.
Like that?
Yes. Press enter. Yeah. Now do npm i.
npm I. Okay. Now installing.
Okay, ठीक है. So I hope many of you got answer to your questions with this. Okay. So npm install on one hand you have to do every time, but I'll show you a trick with which you can avoid it. Okay, maybe in the next few classes, but yes, in most of the cases you have to do npm install again and again. So cool. Then yeah, please take up help of IAs. We have a nice team of IAs for this batch. We have Soumya here, and you all help each other for these things so that.
After.
So be very, ready to help each other, just the way a lot of you are trying to do here. All right.
Okay.
And now run npm space t space 2 minus 2 dashes space again 2 dash watch 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 capital A double L. Enter. So now your jest has started and you can see all the tests here, right? So now you can start working and it will keep on running automatically. Okay.
Okay.
So
Okay.
this is how you are expected to solve your problems, and make sure
Okay.
you are all very comfortable with it as soon as possible. Okay. Because your evaluations would be in the very same lines.
Now
And
press the enter, sir.
so you don't need to do anything in terminal. Now you can directly go to your code and start fixing your problems.
Okay, sir.
Okay. And be very comfortable reading the messages that terminal shows. Okay. You need to be
Okay.
you can stop sharing your screen.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
All right. I'll let Soumya and other IAs take over. Okay. Make sure to fill up the feedback form, and please take help of IAs and all of the team for all of these queries. Nice. Yeah. Over to you, Soumya.
Okay, sir. Okay, so I am sending you the feedback form. Everyone, please fill it.